Chapter 246. Are you trying to force me to death? Yes, Lu Yanyan nodded. She looked at Jianyun and smiled. Yes, Yanyan. Divorce is not a big deal. Who hasn't met a few scums? When you come back, we can still live together like before. How good is that? Wu Wenjing squeezed her eyes and said, It's nothing, even if he has a child. Let's raise him together. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. It won't be good for others to hear it. Yanyan, I'll fix your makeup for you. Jianyun had just finished putting on makeup for Luo Yanyan when someone knocked on the door. Qin Dong's voice sounded from outside. Yanyan, open the door. Luo Yanyan looked up and looked in the direction of the door with a complicated expression. Jianyun pinched her hand and signaled Wu Wenjing to open the door. She whispered to Luo Yanyan, Yanyan, since you have made your choice, you must bear with it for now. We will talk after today. I know. Luo Yanyan nodded. At this time, Wu Wenjing had already opened the door. Qin Dong walked in and saw Jianyun was also there. He nodded his head as a form of greeting. He walked in front of Luo Yanyan and saw that Luo Yanyan's eyes were a little swollen. He squatted down in pain and held Luo Yanyan's hand. He said, Yanyan, I'm sorry for making you suffer. Luo Yanyan lowered her eyelids and did not speak. Qin Dong suddenly slapped himself. It's all my fault. I can't even protect my wife. Yanyan, hit me. Jianyun and Wu Wenjing were shocked by Qin Dong's action. They exchanged looks and looked at Luo Yanyan at the same time. Luo Yanyan's face was still blank, as if she was used to Qin Dong slapping her. Yanyan, don't be angry, okay? In the future, I will listen to you. Qin Dong saw that Luo Yanyan did not react, so he was also anxious. Qin Dong, why don't you figure out the main point? This matter started because of your mother. Now it is your mother who is making use of the excuse to not let Yanyan in. How embarrassing is this? Don't you know the insult? If Yanyan forgives you like this, how will she continue to be a person in the future? Wu Wenjing's temper was hot. She could not tolerate her friend being bullied the most and could not help but criticize Qin Dong. I understand. Qin Dong lowered his head and said helplessly. I just went to talk to my mom. She thinks she is right. I have said everything. Sigh, I really have no choice. I can't do anything. You guys just know you can't do anything. Wu Wenjing said in disdain. Yanyan, you must think carefully. Do you want to swallow your anger and live with this man for the rest of your life, or do you want to take off your wedding dress now and live your own life? Qin Dong became even more anxious when he heard Wu Wenjing. He said, Sigh, how can you say that? Yanyan, don't listen to her. I will be good to you. I love you. Coincidentally, Luo Yanyan's mother came in from outside. Her expression was very ugly. Clearly, she knew what had just happened. As soon as she came in, she heard Qin Dong's words. She immediately became angry. You love Yanyan? If you love her, can you let your mother bully her like this? Why did I bully her? Ah, speak clearly. Qin Dong's mother also followed in and pointed at Mrs. Luo and started arguing. If you are not satisfied with Yanyan, why didn't you say earlier that you are not allowed in? Do you think our family cares about your family? How good are your family's conditions? If you can't afford the wedding gifts, don't marry a wife if you don't have money. Mrs. Luo was full of anger. She did not care if today was her daughter's wedding day and vented all of her anger. Even if our family is rich, we will not pay for this gift. We know that we will not be able to return. Why should we give it to them? No matter how bad our family is, better than people like you who take daughters as goods and want to sell them for a good price. Mrs. Qin did not want to be outdone. She put her hands on her waist and started to scold Mrs. Luo. Don't say any more. Luo Yanyan was so angry that her face turned purple. She suddenly stood up and grabbed the small crown and veil on her head and threw it to the side. Since we are so dissatisfied with each other, we should not get married. Luo Yanyan suddenly flew into a rage, and everyone present was stunned. Mom, how much money did you take from his family and return it to them? If you don't return it, our relationship between mother and daughter will be cut off here. Luo Yanyan's eyes flashed with anger. Originally, the wedding was a joyous matter, but today's farce made her feel very embarrassed. She turned to Mrs. Qin again and closed her eyes before saying, Auntie, don't worry. If my mom doesn't return the money, I will return it. How much did she take from your family? You and Qin Dong list it out, and I will think of a way to return them. After saying these words, Luo Yanyan did not delay and looked at Jianyun and Wu Wenjing. She did not care about her mother and Qin Dong, who were standing there with their mouths agape. Let's go. Jianyun and Wu Wenjing had never seen Luo Yanyan's daring side. Their expressions were as shocked as Qin Dong and the others. When they heard Luo Yanyan say to leave, the two of them quickly went over. Like two henchmen, they followed Luo Yanyan out of the door. Seeing that Luo Yanyan was about to walk out, Qin Dong knew that once she left, everything would be irreparable. So in his desperation, he suddenly knelt down and begged Luo Yanyan, Yanyan, I will kneel down for you. Don't leave, okay? Qin Dong, get up. Mrs. Qin saw that Qin Dong was so spineless and was so angry that her face turned green. She walked over and slapped Qin Dong's face. She pointed at him and scolded, If you are so spineless to beg her again, I will pretend that I don't have a son like you. Mom, do you want to force me to death? You clearly know that Yanyan and I have a good relationship. Why do you have to care about trivial matters? Qin Dong was obviously used to being controlled by his mother. Facing his mother, he still did not dare to get angry. Seeing that tears were coming out, he said in pain, "Mom, Yanyan is pregnant. She has my child. Do you have to force my wife and children to be separated to be satisfied?" "Shut up." When Luo Yanyan heard that, she suddenly turned her head and scolded Qingdong. "What? She is pregnant?" Mrs. Qin was shocked at first, but then her eyes showed hesitation. She frowned and looked at Luo Yanyan. Luo Yanyan. Luo Yanyan did not say a word and turned to leave. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing helped to carry the wedding dress. At this moment, both of them felt as if 10,000 mud horses were galloping past in their hearts. Both of them were very clear that Luo Yanyan had been strict in her upbringing since she was young. Her parents were very indulgent to her younger brother, but they were very strict with her. This kind of unwed premarital pregnancy was absolutely not allowed to happen. "Yanyan, is what Qingdong said true?" Mrs. Luo pulled Luo Yanyan back. The expression on her face had already started to distort because she understood. If Luo Yanyan was really pregnant, then Qingdong's mother definitely had the right to mock her. Pregnant before marriage. Such an unself-respecting action made her lose a lot of face. "Auntie, if there's anything, we can talk about it when we get back." Wu Wenjing quickly stood in front of Luo Yanyan and separated her from her mother. "Mom." Qingdong also rushed over. He pulled Luo Yanyan and did not let her go. He turned his head to look at his mother. Chapter 247. Divorce on First Marriage? Yanyan, Mrs. Qin finally gave in. She took a deep breath and walked to the door. She looked at Luo Yanyan and said, "Today's matter is because I did not think it through and made you suffer." Luo Yanyan was expressionless, and the wedding dress could not cover her pale face. "Yanyan, my mom apologized to you, and you will forgive us, okay?" Qingdong held Luo Yanyan's hand tightly, as if he was afraid that she would leave. He did not let go of her. He kept begging, "Children are innocent. Don't you like babies very much? You can't bear to lose your father before the baby is born, right?" "Yanyan, I didn't know you were pregnant. Don't fuss over it on the account of the baby." Mrs. Qin looked at Luo Yanyan's belly with her eyelids drooping. Her brows were tightly locked. Although her expression was still ugly, the words she said were not as aggressive as before. It was just that when Jian Yun heard these words, she still felt that her tone was high and mighty and did not have any sincerity. Jian Yun saw that Luo Yanyan seemed to have wavered. She looked at Wu Wenjing, and Wu Wenjing also looked at her. Actually, they all hoped that Luo Yanyan could just leave, and something like this happened on the wedding day. It was impossible for Luo Yanyan and Qingdong's mother to get along well in the future. Qingdong had such a weak character. If Yanyan stayed, she would still be angry in the future. However, reality was reality after all. Luo Yanyan was not someone who would dare to do anything. She had just been so angry that she did not care about it. But now that she had calmed down, she still had to consider many aspects. In addition, Qingdong kept begging from the side. It was not like Luo Yanyan did not have any feelings for him. In the end, she still softened her heart. "Yanyan, don't go. Let's raise the baby together. In the future, I will listen to you." Qingdong saw Luo Yanyan stop, and he immediately became happy. He held Luo Yanyan's hand and walked back to the bed and helped her sit down. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing felt that the atmosphere was a little awkward. The two of them said at the same time, "Yanyan, you talk to Qingdong. We will wait for you outside." "Okay." Luo Yanyan raised her head to look at Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing. Her beautiful big eyes were covered with a layer of haze. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing walked to the living room sofa and sat down. Those few people were not around previously. Presumably, when they saw Mrs. Qin coming back aggressively, those few people also felt embarrassed and directly left. "Jian Yun, do you think Yanyan will stay?" Wu Wenjing quietly asked. "Yes." Jian Yun sighed. It was as if something was stuck in her heart, making her very uncomfortable. "Sigh, I am not a jinx. It is just that Yanyan found such a family. Will she be happy in the future?" Wu Wenjing let out a heavy breath, and her expression was ugly. Jian Yun did not answer because she did not know what to say. Although they all hoped that Luo Yanyan would be happy, she did not know what to say. But in the present situation, it is really doubtful that there is such a possibility. 10 minutes later, the door of the new house opened, and Luo Yanyan's mother walked out with a complicated expression. "Auntie," Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing went up to welcome her. "Yanyan is inside. You guys go in." Mrs. Luo pulled the corner of her mouth and did not say much as she walked straight to the door. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing could not help but be curious about these few people who were just incompatible with each other just now. What exactly did they talk about in these 10 minutes? The two of them had just walked to the door when they bumped into Mrs. Qin. Her expression was also very ugly. When she saw Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing, she did not even greet them and directly walked away with her head held high. "I'm sorry. My mom is like this. Actually, she is not bad." Qingdong came out and saw Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing staring at his mother's back. He could not help but explain awkwardly. "Qingdong, Yanyan is our good sister. If you don't have the ability to protect her, let go." Wu Wenjing did not waste any time and went straight to the point. "I can protect Yanyan," Qingdong quickly promised. Jian Yun shook her head. She had only met Qingdong once and did not know him well, but judging from his actions today, she felt Wu Wenjing was right. This man was a mother's baby. He did not have his own opinion, and listened to his mother's words. Today's matter. If Luo Yanyan was not pregnant, he would not have been able to subdue his mother. Therefore, Jian Yun could not believe her promise to him. Yanyan. Jian Yun passed Qindong and entered the door. Seeing Luo Yanyan sitting by the bed with the same blank expression, she could not help but call out softly. I'm sorry. Luo Yanyan did not raise her head, but her lips moved and said these 3 words. Why do you say I'm sorry? Wu Wenjing said angrily. Yanyan, you really disappoint me? How long do you want to hold it in? Hey, Jian Yun pulled Wu Wenjing over. This family did not block her. Luo Yanyan was already very sad and did not continue to spread salt on her wound. I know you are very disappointed in me, but... Luo Yanyan shook her head and smiled bitterly. If I really leave today, would it be the best result? Hearing these words, Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing became silent. That's right. Even if Luo Yanyan did not get married today, so what? She and Qindong had already gotten their marriage certificates. The wedding invitations had also been released. Her family and friends were all waiting for the wine to be served in the hotel. If they suddenly announced that they were not married, who would be the one who would be hurt the most? Yanyan, don't think too much. Jian Yun did not know what to say to comfort Luo Yanyan. She could only hold Luo Yanyan's hand and use this method to comfort her. In the past, she thought that her own fate was bumpy and full of suffering. Only now did she know that compared to Luo Yanyan's encounter, she was really too lucky. Yanyan, since you have already made your choice, then I will not say much, but I still have something to say. Wu Wenjing let out a long sigh. She also sat beside Luo Yanyan and held one of her hands. She said earnestly, you cannot be soft-hearted anymore. No one can leave and no one can live. You must be better to yourself. You understand what I mean. Luo Yanyan was stunned for a moment before she nodded. Yes, I understand. Qindong walked in at this time and carefully asked, Yanyan, the lunch is about to start. Do you want to go? Luo Yanyan shook her head. I don't want to go. The custom in Qinghu City was to welcome the bride on the morning of the wedding day. They would have a small meal, around 11 in the morning. This meal was all relatives of the family. There were men and women. The night was the official wedding banquet, and the wedding ceremony was also held at night. But if you don't go, others will gossip. Qindong rubbed his hands with a worried look on his face. What gossip? Your mother could do something that blocked the door in the morning. Aren't you afraid that others will gossip? Wu Wenjing immediately became angry when she heard this. What's wrong with Yanyan not going at noon? It just happens to let your mother know our attitude. Yanyan is not someone who can't marry other than you. This matter today cannot be easily ended. Hey, say less. Jin Yun felt that Wu Wenjing spoke too much and Qindong's face was already very ugly. She hurriedly pulled her sleeves and turned to look at Qindong. Chapter 248. It's terrible to get married. Jian Yun looked at Qindong and said, You see, Yanyan is not in a good condition right now. Why should she go to the hotel to be criticized by others? If you have the heart, prepare the wedding ceremony properly tonight. Don't disappoint Yanyan anymore. Qindong looked at Jian Yun and then looked at Luo Yanyan, who kept her head down with empty eyes. He nodded and guaranteed, Yanyan, if you don't want to go, then rest well and go again at night. Don't worry, I will definitely not let you down. Oh. Luo Yanyan replied woodenly. After Qindong left, there was only Luo Yanyan, Jian Yun, and Wu Wenjing in the huge new room. Jian Yun brought a cup of warm water for Luo Yanyan. As soon as she entered, Wu Wenjing asked, Yanyan, have you really thought about it? What else can we do? Luo Yanyan pulled the corner of her mouth. Since we have already reached this stage, even if we divorce, we have already become a laughingstock. No one will laugh at you. Even if they laugh at you, they will not laugh for the rest of their lives. It's better than being sullen and unhappy all the time. Wu Wenjing said. Wu Wenjing, I am different from you. I have been used to being weak since I was young. I will not make my own decisions. I do not have the courage, my ears are soft, and I always look forward to the future. Furthermore, no matter who I look for in my family, the result will be the same. Jian Yun, you understand this. Luo Yanyan drank some water and said lightly. I know. I did not dare to find a partner in the past because I knew that no matter who I found, in the end, my family was too burdened. Jian Yun smiled bitterly. That lawyer Zhou previously personally said that my mother was a burden. That's right. My father's health was not good. A few years ago he was framed and lost his job. At home, he lived on a little pension. My mother had been off work for many years and only retired 2 years ago. Her pension was very little. My brother spent money like running water again. It was not easy for him to get into college. He did not study well and dated every day. He still wants me to pay him to clean 9. After graduation, he didn't look for a job. He lived at home and played games whenever he had nothing to do. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. Even if he went out to work, he wouldn't be able to do it for a few days. With such a family situation, what right do I have to ask the other party to think highly of? Luo Yanyan said these words with a terrifying wooden expression. Yanyan, you can't say things like that. You are beautiful, have a good job, and have a good personality. You should not be so conceited. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing felt that Luo Yanyan was too pessimistic. Luo Yanyan shook her head. I have never told you guys. Actually, there are many male colleagues in my school who have pursued me, but once they understand my family situation, no one will continue to insist. The auntie downstairs also introduced me several times. There was one person who got along well, but my mom knows. She came to find that person, but... Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing looked at each other. They indeed did not know about this matter. They had never heard Luo Yanyan mention it, and thought that Luo Yanyan had never forgotten about her ex-boyfriend, and did not look for a partner on a blind date. Luo Yanyan turned the cup in her hand and said in a low voice, "Actually, my character is not good. I have been suppressing myself since I was young. I hate my parents and my brother, but I can't do anything. When they come to me to cry or force me, I do not even have the ability to refuse. I feel so painful and uncomfortable every day. I get irritable easily. Only Qingdong doesn't dislike my family's situation. He even tried to enlighten me." Wu Wenjing raised her brows. "Yanyan, didn't you not like him? Before you received the certificate, you even broke up once. I remember that your parents found a lot of people to persuade you, and that was why you surrendered. I do not like him very much. There is no love, but I have habits and reliance. Although he is weak, he is indeed very good to me. I can see this point. In the end, I will think it through. It is also because of this point." Luo Yanyan lowered her eyelids and her long eyelashes kept trembling. It showed that she was not in a good mood at the moment. "All right, Yanyan, this is your own life. It is fine as long as you are willing." Wu Wenjing sighed and walked to the window to sit down. She did not say anything else. Jian Yun gently hugged Luo Yanyan, and she whispered in her ear, "Yanyan, think about yourself." Luo Yanyan smiled. "I will." Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing did not speak anymore. In the afternoon, the few of them randomly made some food. Luo Yanyan got up in the middle of the night to put on makeup, and this happened in the morning. She was too tired and directly fell asleep. Jian Yun and Wu Wenjing also leaned on the sofa and narrowed their eyes for a while. Jian Yun was woken up by the phone call. The phone call was from Huo Liancheng. As usual, she opened her mouth and asked Jian Yun, "Where is it?" "I am at Yanyan's house." Jian Yun walked to the balcony and said softly. She looked at the time. It was 12:10 p.m. "Have you had lunch?" she asked. "Yes." He then asked, "Why does it sound like you're in a bad mood? Didn't you go to the wedding?" "Something happened," Jian Yun said. She looked down at the flower stand on the balcony and sighed softly. She said, "Marriage is really scary." "How is it scary?" Huo Liancheng raised his eyebrows. "It's not convenient to talk about it here. I'll tell you when I get back." Jian Yun heard the voice and turned her head to look. She saw Qingdong and his mother walk in side by side. "Okay." Huo Liancheng was in a good mood. He heard Jian Yun say that someone when it up was coming to hang up, but didn't say anything. After Jian Yun hung up the phone, she put the phone back in her pocket and went to greet Qingdong. "Where is Yanyan?" Qingdong asked. "She's asleep. Is something the matter?" Jian Yun looked at Qingdong's mother. When she saw her in the morning, Jian Yun was busy comforting Luo Yanyan and did not see Mrs. Qin's face clearly. At this time she could not help but carefully size her up. Mrs. Qin was around 50 years old and was slightly fat. She maintained well and her skin was fair and clean. She was very clean and even put on makeup. Her hair was hot and combed with the kind of hairstyle that they liked at this age. She wore a qipao. She looked like a capable character. Jian Yun could not help but worry about Luo Yanyan in her heart. With Luo Yanyan's gentle personality, it was obvious that she would not be able to deal with this powerful mother-in-law. "Nothing much. My mom came to see Yanyan and see if there is anything she needs." Qingdong gave a simple and honest smile. "Auntie is kind," Jian Yun replied politely with a smile. However, she was cursing in her heart. She felt that the comments on Weibo really made sense. Usually, a baby boy mother would have a powerful mother. Depending on the degree of their mother's treasure, the more powerful their mother's registration would be. Looking at Qingdong's appearance, he must have been an obedient and good son since he was young. Qingdong's mother had a good impression of Jian Yun and spoke very amiably. "You are Yanyan's classmate, right? You look really good. Today I did not treat you well. Please understand more." "Auntie is too polite." Jian Yun felt that there was a need to have a good talk with Luo Yanyan later. Since she was not willing to divorce, then she had to carefully study the way the two of them interacted. She did not ask for a good relationship between them as long as they did not quarrel every day. Chapter 249, What Should Not Be Seen. "Mom, Yanyan woke up in the middle of the night to put on makeup. Let her sleep for a while. You should go and rest first." Qingdong looked at his mother. "Okay, I'll go and sleep for a while. Don't tire yourself out." Mrs. Qin patted Qingdong's shoulder and greeted Jian Yun. She turned around and went to the guest room. "Jian Yun, I am sorry to let you guys see a joke." Qingdong could not help feeling a little embarrassed when he saw Jian Yun was still staring at him. "I only hope that you can realize that you are good to Yanyan, not only in life but also in spirit. Don't spoil the relationship between you guys because of those trivial matters." Jian Yun smiled. She was not familiar with Qingdong, and she did not have much trust in him. She could only give a light nod. "I understand." Qingdong lowered his head. His expression was a little awkward because he could tell that Jian Yun was questioning whether he could protect Luo Yanyan. "You have been busy all day. Go and rest." Jian Yun turned around and saw Wu Wenjing walking over. She greeted Qingdong and was pulled out by Wu Wenjing. Why did you pull me out? Jian Yun looked at the sky. It was the end of April. Under the sunlight, it was already hot. Look at that cowardly man. I am afraid that if I look at his cowardly appearance again, I will not be able to resist beating him up. Wu Wenjing curled her lips and walked on the grass field of the residential area with a big knife. I keep feeling that Yan Yan marrying into this family is really wronged. Jian Yun sighed. That is also because she is a coward, and has no opinion. Once she is forced by her parents, she will yield and her character will decide her fate. Wu Wenjing hated iron. If I were her, I would definitely cut off my relationship with that kind of parents. Don't be so arbitrary. You are not in Yan Yan's situation and will not understand her feelings. Just like me, my father is so heartless and I also hate him, but if I don't acknowledge him, I cannot do it. Jian Yun shook her head. She looked at an unknown flower tree by the side of the road and her eyes revealed a sense of loss. But you can't listen to her parents. Her parents are so serious that they value men more than women. Clearly, they want to keep controlling Yan Yan and let her continue to make money for the family. In fact, I really feel that Yan Yan's family has a huge responsibility in today's situation. How can her mother do that kind of thing? Isn't this harming her daughter? Wu Wenjing said angrily. And when something happens, she will only hide behind her daughter. If I were her, I would turn the world upside down and take her away and throw the money on Qingdong's mother's face. All right, don't talk about Yan Yan anymore. Jian Yun heard Wu Wenjing say more and more angrily. She also knew that this big girl was a person who hated evil like hatred. She did not like her own people being bullied the most. That was even worse than being bullied by herself. But Jian Yun also felt uncomfortable for Luo Yanyan in her heart. She knew that Luo Yanyan would be like this because of many reasons. She could not simply blame which side. What do you plan on doing? Jian Yun changed the topic. Let's go back to the Mings to work. I now realize that no matter what I do, I still need a stable job as a guarantee. Otherwise, if I can't even protect the most basic life, what else can I use to achieve my career? Wu Wenjing clenched her fists and said, Then what about your star dream? Jian Yun asked again. It's still being created? Wu Wenjing smiled as she walked around and asked Jian Yun, Didn't you notice that I have lost a lot of weight recently and my manners have improved? Jian Yun took a closer look and found that it was really Wu Wenjing who was 1.7 meters tall. Her skeleton was already big and she could eat it. She looked very strong. It had only been a short time and she had lost a lot of weight. Her skin color had improved and her waist had straightened up. She had put on light makeup and her temperament had changed. We signed up for an etiquette class to learn manners and etiquette, as well as a dance class. Then, I plan to lose another 10 pounds of weight and sign up for the Miss Beauty contest in China. Wu Wenjing said proudly. Okay, I wish you success. Jian Yun was sweating profusely. Wu Wenjing's character was just like messing around, but there was nothing wrong with it. When she was young, she pursued her dreams. When she was old, she would not think that her life was in vain. Let's not talk about me anymore. Let's talk about you. How far have you and President Huo progressed? Wu Wenjing rolled her eyes and poked Jian Yun in an ambiguous manner. She blinked and asked, Has the last step been carried out yet? No. Jian Yun's mouth twitched. I didn't bring you to inquire about privacy like this. You still want to keep it a secret from me? Wu Wenjing was not happy and then asked, The WeChat moments you said previously said that you saw something you shouldn't have seen. Is it that President Huo or something? Hey Wu Wenjing, that's enough of you. Jian Yun's face turned red. Haha Jian Yun, you are confessing without beating around the bush. Look at your face. Come, tell the ladies. What's the size of President Huo? Wu Wenjing was very curious. Although she had called Jian Yun to tease her that day, Jian Yun's mouth was too tight. She just randomly guessed. Now that she saw Jian Yun's embarrassed face, she was sure that her guess was true. Wu Wenjing, say that I became hostile again. The veins on Jian Yun's forehead jumped. Putting aside the fact that her relationship with Huo Liancheng was not that close, even if something really happened, she would not share such a private topic with Wu Wenjing. Aya, why are you so petty? I am just curious. The Prince Charming was taken care of by you just like that. You don't even know how much disappointment and pain I feel. Can't you comfort my injured little heart? Wu Wenjing deliberately pretended to be pitiful as she pulled Jian Yun's sleeve and shook it. If you feel uncomfortable, go and find a man. Jian Yun rolled her eyes. I don't like men. Seeing Yan Yan's matter makes me firmer about not getting married. I make money myself and spend my own money happily. Why do I need to find a man? Wu Wenjing quickly shook her head. All right, I also feel that men are a burden. Jian Yun thought of Qingdong's awkward look when he faced his mother and Luo Yanyan in the morning and felt her heart tighten. If she found a man who would only make her suffer, then it would be better not to get married. Sigh. I don't know what kind of person Huo Liancheng's mother is. Jian Yun was suddenly frightened by this thought of hers. What kind of mother Huo Liancheng is? What does it have to do with her? Could it be that she really thought of herself as the wife of Huo family? Jian Yun couldn't help but despise herself in her heart. Although she was married to Huo Liancheng now, she didn't have a real marriage. Even if Huo Liancheng said that he came for her, loved her, and wanted her, it didn't mean that they could really become husband and wife. Moreover, she still couldn't completely believe Huo Liancheng's words. Even if he said that the marriage contract was just to make her let down her guard, could a man's words really be counted? When she liked you, she wished she could stick together every day. She wanted the stars in the sky to be plucked for her. If she didn't like it, she wished she could cut it off. All the love she had was like smoke in her eyes. They didn't know each other at all. Moreover, the contract clearly stated that 1 year was the time. What would he do after 1 year? Jianyun was really uncertain in her heart. Chapter 250. You've got a lot of love rivals. Jianyun, what are you thinking about? Why is your expression changing? It's like you're only in heat. Wu Wenjing saw that Jianyun did not speak and could not help but poke her face. Jianyun's eyes moved. She glanced at the finger Wu Wenjing used to poke her face. She quickly grabbed it and was about to put it into her mouth to bite. Are you a dog? Why did you bite me? Wu Wenjing was so scared that she quickly waved her hand. You are the one who is in heat, Jianyun said angrily. Look at yourself. Your face is red and your eyes are watery. You must be thinking about something serious. Wu Wenjing took out a cosmetic mirror from her bag and looked at Jianyun. She winked at her. Are you thinking about kissing President Huo? Wu Wenjing, can you not be so sloppy? Do you have a crush on him? If you have a crush on him, I will help you tell him. Jianyun was truly speechless. Wu Wenjing could think of Huo Liancheng no matter what she did. Wrong, I am unrequited. Jianyun, let me tell you, you have too many love rivals. You must be careful. Watch your Prince Charming and don't let those improper women have the chance to get close to him. Wu Wenjing and Jianyun joked, but what they said was serious. If he has that heart, it's useless even if I tie his belt. Jianyun was open-minded about this. A person like Huo Liancheng was not someone she could control just because she wanted to. That's true. Just like Xu Haiyan said back then, when the sea dried up and the rocks dried up, he did not regret it. In the end, when others hooked up with him, he followed them. Wu Wenjing curled her lips and said. After saying that, she realized that she had said the wrong thing. She should not mention Xu Haiyan in front of Jianyun. All along, Xu Haiyan was a topic that Jianyun prohibited from talking about, so Wu Wenjing quickly changed the topic. Jianyun, let's go back. Don't let Yanyan wake up later and find us. Jianyun was pulled by Wu Wenjing and walked forward. She suddenly said, Lin Lanlan called me last night. Wu Wenjing turned back in shock. That slut still has the face to call you? Xu Haiyan was hospitalized in a car accident. She said Xu Haiyan wanted to see me. Jianyun's tone was cold. Jianyun, there's something you need to say. I think you better not go. Wu Wenjing pulled Jianyun's hand and sat on the stone bench beside the road with her. She said earnestly, your relationship with General Manager Huo is not stable yet. If he finds out, it will definitely affect your relationship. Jianyun rolled her eyes at Wu Wenjing. Can we not mention him? Wu Wenjing curled her lips. Then what do you think? You plan to see Xu Haiyan? I don't know either. Jianyun frowned. Don't go. Wu Wenjing made the decision for Jianyun. She pulled Jianyun's sleeves and said, you have also seen the power of Mother's treasure man. You should be glad that you are not with Xu Haiyan. The fucking extreme quality is deeper than Qingdong's mother. Didn't we all see it before? So breaking up with Xu Haiyan is not necessarily a kind of bad luck for you. Jianyun could only sigh. If it was when she was deeply in love, she knew that the future would not be smooth, and that she might encounter many difficulties, she would not give up. For love, she could press forward. But now, after experiencing so much, she and Xu Haiyan really could not return. She did not dare to give up her heart. Whether it was Jianyun or Wu Wenjing, they did not expect that Jianyun did not go to the hospital to see Xu Haiyan, but Xu Haiyan came to Luo Yanyan's wedding venue. At that time, when Jianyun was dragged by Wu Wenjing to stand with Luo Yanyan at the entrance of the hotel to welcome guests, she was talking to Luo Yanyan. When she turned her head, she saw Xu Haiyan's arm was covered with plaster, hanging around his neck, and walking towards her with a pale face. Jianyun was stunned at that time. She looked at Xu Haiyan's pale face and dark eyes and could not react for a moment. Until Xu Haiyan stood in front of her and stared at her, Jianyun's mind was still in a daze. Wu Wenjing saw that things were not good and quickly pulled Jianyun off. At the same time, she said to Xu Haiyan with a smile, Isn't this big handsome Xu? What is going on? Jianyun finally came back to her senses. She quickly lowered her eyelashes and awkwardly stroked her hair. Her face also turned to the side. Clearly, she wanted to avoid Xu Haiyan. Nothing. I just got hit by a car. Xu Haiyan was hurt by Jianyun's indifferent attitude. He could not hide the disappointment on his face. He looked away and looked at Wu Wenjing. He smiled and said, I see. Is there anything wrong? Wu Wenjing asked absent-mindedly. She glanced at Jianyun and said, There was a car accident. Why don't you rest more at home? Because I have thoughts here. Xu Haiyan looked at Jianyun and said in a deep voice, So, I have to come. Jianyun heard him and her hand, that was hanging by her side, trembled slightly. Handsome Xu really knows how to joke. You say these words to make people misunderstand that you are here to snatch the bride. Qingdong, Tonight, you must protect Yan Yan well. Be careful that your wife is snatched away by someone. The corner of Wu Wenjing's mouth twitched. In her heart, she disapproved of Shu Haiyang's words. However, she changed the topic and started to tease Luo Yanyan. Luo Yanyan was coaxed by Qin Dong for an entire afternoon. She only agreed to hold the wedding at night. At this moment, she was standing at the door to welcome guests. Although her expression was indifferent, it was not as gloomy as it was in the morning. When Shu Haiyan arrived just now, she and Qin Dong had gone to welcome a friend. At this time they heard Wu Wenjing's words, so she and Qin Dong walked over. Teacher Shu is here. Qin Dong should have seen Shu Haiyan before. He greeted Shu Haiyan from afar and did not take Wu Wenjing's teasing to heart. You are already like this. If you still come, I will feel bad. Luo Yanyan stood in front of Jian Yun without leaving a trace and blocked Shu Haiyang's fiery gaze. She said very naturally, Do you all not want me to come? How could Shu Haiyan not understand Wu Wenjing and Luo Yanyan's meaning was to express that they did not welcome him, he said with a bitter smile. How could that be? Luo Yanyan gave Qin Dong a look. Go in and sit, you are injured, be careful. Qin Dong led Shu Haiyan to the hotel lobby. When he passed Jian Yun, Shu Haiyan stopped and lowered his head to ask, Yun Duo, let's go in together. Jian Yun looked up, but her eyes only stopped on Shu Haiyang's arm that was covered in plaster. She shook her head and said lightly, No, I will go in later. All right then. Shu Haiyang nodded and did not say anything else. He turned around and went in. Jian Yun, don't be affected by him. Wu Wenjing saw that Jian Yun's eyes were not right. She quickly poked her. What are you thinking about? I am thinking. Jian Yun turned her head to look at her and said with a frown, Isn't his leg fine? Why did his mother tell me that his leg is broken? His mother wouldn't tell the truth. It's not like you don't know. Wu Wenjing rolled her eyes in contempt. She pinched Jian Yun's hand and said in a low voice, Jian Yun, you better stay away from him later. I keep feeling that the way he looks at you is not right.